Hey, everybody. It is Thursday, November the 12th, and this is Master the Shots. I've got my buddy Eddie here, EA Visuals. I'm Josh with Josh Mills Photography. And tonight's special guest, we have Omar Ramos, who was having some technical difficulties, but it looks like we've got him now. What's up, Omar? How you doing this evening, man?
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having me on.
How's it going, Omar?
Pleasure to meet you, Eddie.
Pleasure to meet you, man. Pleasure to meet you. How's everybody doing out there?
Well, I'm doing well. Josh, thank you so much for reaching out. I appreciate being on your show. I think this is a really cool platform for content creators, and I caught a couple of the last episodes to catch up, and this is gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. We really appreciate you coming on. I mean, I've been a fan of your work for several years now. I mean, we kind of roam in the same circles online, and I've been familiar with your work down there in Dallas for a while through like the Cheetah Stand group and stuff like that. So I definitely was like, oh, Omar would be a perfect fit to get in here. So
yes, sir. It's funny because I was actually.
Well, I appreciate that. My another group of mine was wondering, hey, when did you get to episode 5? I said, this is not my. I'm a guest because I used to do a little podcast before. I'm like, no, that's not my thing. So we got some jealous folks out there, but I appreciate that.
That's all good. That's all good. They're welcome to come and watch here too. So
yes, I hope they do.
Now, what were you saying, Eddie?
I said, so Omar's in Dallas. It's funny because I actually follow quite a bit of models in Dallas that I've shot before, and I've actually seen your work before from other models. Just never knew it was your work. So it's pretty cool. Awesome work. I love the work, Omar.
Well, thank you, man. And Eddie, you're out in California?
No, I'm in Arkansas. So I'm in
Arkansas. Okay.
Arkansas. Yep.
Okay. You're not too far away, so we can do road trips.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's like a 4.5-hour drive for us. He's basically a neighbor. He's like one town over from me.
Oh, okay. And Josh, you moved back from the East Coast to Arkansas. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was up New Jersey, New York for 18 years. And I moved back here summer of 2019.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
It must have been a return to culture shock.
It was a culture shock moving up there, and moving back, nothing against the Northeast, but moving back was kind of refreshing. I'll just put it that way.
I get you.
And I was actually born and raised in East Texas. I was out in Lone Oak, little tiny town south of Greenville, about an hour east of Dallas. And most of my family is all around DFW and Texas all over. So I'm familiar with the whole area.
I see. I'm originally from the East Coast,
all right.
Born and raised in Brooklyn, New York.
Cool.
So lived there all my life and then moved to Texas 25 years ago.
What brought you down to Texas?
Oh, that's one of those stories that we need some more.
We can skip over it. We can just gloss right on past that.
Yeah. Long story short, it was a good thing for me, especially for my children. I really, early on it was very rough, the adjustment part of it. But 10 years later, after we moved, things started getting, I realized I'm not going back to New York, so everything worked out.
Gotcha. Yep. I hear you on that. Cool. Well, we're actually going to pull up your photos here in just a second and kind of talk about how you got into photography, your progression to where you are now. And then we're going to go into, we like to ask everybody to give us a topic that's important to them before we bring them on. And tonight, Omar, his topic is finding your own path in photography. So we're going to hit on that with him and let him kind of tell us what that means to him. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up my screen and share it real quick. And we'll start talking about some of Omar's pictures. And he can give us a little story about how he got into photography and his progression to where he's at now. All right.
Yep. Martin, how's it going, man?
Good evening, Martin. Okay, I got to give a shout out to Martin. So Martin Poole is a buddy that's down in Perth, Australia. He's a fashion photographer down there, commercial photographer. And the other night we were talking, and he brought up football, as in soccer, not as in American football. And he made the comment. He's like, if I bought a jersey for you of my team, would you wear it? I was like, hell yeah. And it arrived in the mail today. So I'm wearing the Aston Villa from Birmingham. So this is Martin's team right here. I'm representing for him tonight.
So that's awesome. I was actually I was gonna throw a little jab and be like, "Dang, Josh, I've never seen you this bright." So
You've never seen me in anything other than a flannel.
yeah, exactly. So definitely different there.
Yep. So here you go, Martin. I'm repping for you. All right, go Aston Villa. All right. So Omar, let's get a little history. How long have you been shooting, brother?
Oh, okay. My history, I got into photography when I was right out of high school. And basically, I was I was going to do something, in ministry. That was kind of my calling. I wanted to be urban street minister. I went to Bible school, and but long story short, I was invited to a church play. And in this play, I got to meet several photographers at our church in Brooklyn. And predominantly one, Terry Weir and Christopher Morris. And they were shooting, stills for the play and all this stuff like that. And so, and also Larry Dockery. These three gentlemen were like my aha moment for photography. They had all these lights and beauty dishes and all the setup. They were, and I mean, these were high end guys because Terry and Larry were shooting with Leicas, and it was pretty awe-inspiring,
This is when Omar's gear obsession began.
Yeah, it started there and it ended there real quick. But the whole photography experience that they gave, they were taking pictures of us, headshots and stuff. I was just like, wow. I was a hobbyist at that time. Me and my younger brother and my brother-in-law, we all bought cameras at the same time, and we were just, shooting around just like most hobbyists. Nothing really serious. And then when this play happened, it was just like, this is what I wanted to do. I really want to do photography. And so I remember as they were still setting up and stuff like that, I went to Larry and I asked him, hey, I really want to, do this. And he said, well, here's my card. Why don't you come visit us at our studio? I didn't know these guys at that time. I didn't know them from Adam. And their studio was located right in, if you know Manhattan, they were right in the Union Square area on 18th Street on Park Avenue. So high-end district, amazing. It's kind of like the lower Madison Avenue advertising area. Right. So I go visit their studio and I meet Terry face to face. And that's really the moment that kind of changed my life. Terry, just his personality, we talked for about 2 hours, really nothing about photography, but really about the passion of life and what you want to do with your life. So I don't want to get too all deep, but it was that moment as a young man that impressed me so much. He gave me an opportunity to learn where, like today, a lot of us don't give those opportunities. We don't necessarily open our doors to almost a complete stranger and say, hey, you can hang out here. I hung out with them for 3 years. That's awesome. I stuck with them because I realized this is really what I wanted to do. And he gave me access to his dark room. I became his first assistant, and I've been on shoots for Coca-Cola with them. And Christopher Morris. If you look him up, if you Google Christopher Morris, he is a Pulitzer Prize photographer. I assisted him on the Mondale Ferraro presidency run in New York City. Shot Newsweek with him. The Bernard Goetz shooting, all that stuff was going on at that time, and I was exposed to these amazing photographers. Larry Dockery was a interior architect photographer and product photographer. Let me carry their gear, learn lighting, learn film, and all that. I had gotten all this exposure, $1 million worth of training.
Oh yeah!
By assisting for 3 years and learning from them, and my first commercial client came through Terry. He gave me a job working for Neiman Marcus. I got to shoot for Neiman Marcus in New York. And my first fashion assignment was shooting for Booker's in Neiman Marcus.
Nice.
And so I got an opportunity to shoot Perry Ellis, Christian Dior, Calvin Klein, Estee Lauder, all in my first kind of year as a shooter. Oscar De La Renta, and that's kind of how my career started. Ever since then, it's been a love affair with photography and fashion and art. And 32 years later, I'm still doing it.
That's awesome. That really is awesome. And I mean, growing up in Brooklyn and being in that environment, I mean, you can't understate that. I mean, first off, having mentors like you did, that is priceless. Having a mentor, period, is awesome. And just like you said, people don't do it as often as they used to. And so if you're getting into photography and you can find someone that you look up to their work and come on as an apprentice and have them mentor you, absolutely do it. Even if it's not paid, it's worth the time because you're going to learn so much from it. And another thing that I pull from what Omar said is, especially when it comes into the fashion and commercial world, the people that usually get a foot in the door and get a step up are those that were apprenticing for someone that's already in that world, because then you're getting all those connections and you're building your network.
Right.
Otherwise, it is a struggle to get your foot in the door and get anybody to give you the time of day.
Right. Exactly. And, you know, and as a young photographer, and this is also true today, and you hit the nail on the head. The one thing I didn't learn early on was how to network. Mm-hmm. I thought I got really big-headed real quick. So,
by the way, say hi to Daniel. Daniel Wheat just commented saying that you're the master photographer and you're his mentor.
Oh, Daniel is my bro. That's my bro. That's my bro.
There we go. What's up, Daniel?
Yeah, he's in. You know, I teach this on my workshops about. I think photography is, as you know, guys who do this for a living. You're a photographer 25% of the time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of the time, you're looking for business and networking, and you're doing all the marketing aspects of it and running a business. So the photography aspect of it is as glamorous as it looks. This is really not the key portion of your business. And so what I didn't learn, if I would have learned the stuff that I've learned in, let's say, the last 10 years, it will be easily a $1 million a year photographer, because those relationships that I thought would just always be there, I didn't know how to curate them. I didn't understand, working with my clients and not pricing them away, mm-hmm. or being like, oh, I don't want to do that work anymore, or just stuff like that. Yep. You just don't know what that relationship will connect you to. And so, young photographers, you're out there, and if you want to do this for a living, if you're going to invest outside of learning photography, learn how to market, learn how to network, learn how to communicate where you're with people, so that you can grow your business and it can be sustainable.
Right.
So one thing I want to, first of all, if anybody's watching this live, take notes, because Omar, you just dropped so much knowledge for people out there, man.
Exactly.
Just hearing you talk is amazing. The knowledge that you dropped in such a small, short period of time is amazing. I think one of the things that really stood out, and Josh touched on it, was the mentorship, right? A lot of people take for granted the simple fact that, you're carrying around bags and lighting equipment and whatever it is for other photographers, but the knowledge that you're getting out of that is worth so much. Mm-hmm. And that's the one thing that really stood out that I love, man. And again, if anybody is watching this live, there's a couple of people, take notes, because it's so much knowledge was just dropped. And I appreciate that myself. If you've been shooting for a really long time, I've only been shooting for roughly 9 years. I'm not perfect. I'm still growing. Just the knowledge that you provided me right now, I'm super grateful for that. So thank you for that, Omar.
No one's arrived. I don't care who you are, how long you've been doing this. No one is like, you're always growing and you're always evolving and you're changing, and your eyes, your vision grows.
Yeah.
So as you start as a photographer, I was running around with a Nikon FE and a Vivitar 285 flash. That was actually all I had, and I don't even remember 55 mil. I had a 55 millimeter Nikkor lens. That was my main lens, and I was doing pretty much everything with that setup as a young photographer. And then you grow and you develop and you start, falling in love with different styles of work and stuff. And then around 22, 23, I worked with one of my best friends, New York City fashion photographer, Keith Major. If you want to see some amazing work, look him up. He'll be coming to the Dallas area soon.
Oh, awesome.
We both worked at the same studio for 7 years, I think making $200 a week or something like that, shooting product, shooting artwork. We were shooting artwork. And, I think it wasn't glamorous. We did our little side hustles on the weekends and at night, and we did our little things, but we had a steady income as photographers. And, we learned about color. We learned about lighting. I had to take color tests, visual color tests, to understand the hues of colors and stuff like that. So all of these experiences are something that you add on into your tool belt. I learned my design aspect through, or my do-it-yourself aspect through Terry. He will build all the sets. We needed to do a beach boardwalk. We built it. We just built it. We didn't go to the beach. We just built it and put it on set. I learned his sense of design from them. And so holding a light for today's photographer, for today's new photographer, you're getting into it. You just bought your new Canon, you bought your new Sony, you bought your new Nikon or Fuji, and you want to really learn to find your path in photography. Hold the light for somebody. You learn so much by holding a light. It has nothing to do with the camera settings, but you understand how to shape light and what the photographer is looking for, and what's flattering light, what's harsh light, and all that stuff like that. But holding a light is an amazing opportunity if you're working with an experienced photographer.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know if I cut you off there, Josh, but Mike actually has a really good question on here for you, Omar. What about us older guys kind of set in our ways? I guess he kind of means like that's actually really good because
you can teach an old dog new tricks.
There you go. But there's also, like, you've been shooting for a really long time, Omar. There's also a lot of, like Mike said, a lot of the older guys out there who are stuck in their ways and refuse to grow. Whether it's shooting a certain way, whether it's shooting film, whether it's not getting into video. I know you guys are into YouTube. Anything out there. What about those older guys?
I think it's almost a two-part question or two-sided question, because obviously there are photographers that just do it for art. They just do it as something that is an outlet for their creative expression. And so there's no rules to that. I mean, you just do what you want to do. If you want to shoot film, or if you want to do all kinds of different lighting setups and so on, go at it. But if you're paying rent, you got to pay all this stuff to keep a roof over your head. You have to. I call myself a hired gun. I don't shoot like the stuff that I like to do is not necessarily the stuff that I shoot. I have to shoot to attract clients. So I gotta say, oh, this brand is looking for this particular photographer. Can I meet the needs for that company? And so, like that shot right there, that's an actual watch ad. And so that we shot that in 29 last year, and we just shot a new campaign this year. So I did a good job. They hired me again. So that's the difference. I can't just say, well, to the client, that's not good. That's not, I could give them some criticism, in helpful criticism, to say if it was me, this is what I would do. But if a customer tells you like, oh, I want this type of model, or I want this type of look, pro photographers have to be able to adapt and develop and understand what a client wants to reach out with their brand and so on. So if I want to continue doing what I love to do, I had to motivate myself to see what's the trends are. No, I'm not the master lifestyle photographer. I like being in the studio. I like doing all that stuff. But if my client is asking me to do certain things, I got to be flexible and understand what's going on and not just be rigid.
Exactly. You can't be a one-trick pony.
Yeah, you just can't make it in this industry, especially 2020. If 2020 taught you anything, as you just saw, I'll shoot babies.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
I'm not a baby photographer, but if it's gonna pay a bill, I'm gonna shoot it. I'm gonna shoot it. Hey, come on.
So Mike followed up his first question and said, it's not a refusal to grow, but more with the marketing, getting into shooting and assisting with others. I want to actually harp on that for just a second. And Mike, it's honestly, the older you get, the harder it is to humble yourself and take an under role, basically. When you're a kid, you're like, yeah, I'll help. And then as you get older, you kind of have this pride thing going on. It's one of those that, you know what, just suck it up and start asking people that are in the positions you want to be in. Hey, I'll assist. Hey, I'll help out. Just give me a chance.
Yeah.
Let me help you out.
Absolutely.
I'm not asking for anything in return. I just want the experience and want to be able to observe while I'm helping you, so I can learn.
Absolutely, I had to do that myself. I didn't shoot continuously for 32 years. I had a period. I had a family, and I got burnt out with photography. And this is right at the beginning of digital. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I was shooting at that particular time. This is already here in Texas. At the time I was living in Fort Worth, and I was not getting the rates I was getting for everything about photography was frustrating, everything. So I wasn't making the money I thought I could be making here, because obviously the client, the pricing the cost of living is different than New York, obviously. Yeah. I had a young family, and I had to get a job, literally, so, and I sold all my gear. I just I'm done. I got to do something different to take care of my family. Mm-hmm. And it was I have four girls, and two boys. My daughter, Taylor, who is actually my brand, she was going to prom, and she asked me to take her photos. And I haven't taken photos. I have not done digital photos. I didn't own a digital camera. Mm-hmm. I didn't know what Photoshop was. I didn't know what white balance meant. All of that stuff. And I borrowed my younger brother, who is a professional photographer, his Nikon D200. Mm. And so I shot it, I over retouched her pictures because I just had no clue I had no clue. It looked like, she looked like a fuzzball. So, but she liked the pictures, and it was like my reintroduction into photography. You don't really lose obviously you don't lose how to put a photo together. It's just using a new set of tools. So mm-hmm. I had to relearn, and then I actually assisted one of the major photographers here in Dallas. And I was older, So, moving props and moving gears and stuff. I mean, my body was aching. It was hard. But I needed that experience so I can just start understanding what this new digital photography world was, what I needed to get started with, what was retouching and what retouching is supposed to represent, stuff like that. I needed that so I could, kind of rebuild. And so I started practicing on my kids. I would chase them around and say, "Stay there. Let me practice my lighting and all that stuff like that. Get my eye back trained. Got my composition going, and understanding. At first, I just did natural light. I didn't have anything. I sold all my gear, everything. My light meters, everything. I sold everything. I had nothing, and so I had to rebuild all of this and rebuild this whole process. Now, it took me 3 years, I'd say 2.5 years of just kind of rehashing and relearning. And then I opened my studio back up, and it was just been, we got bigger and bigger every year.
That's awesome.
Praise God.
Continuing to grow, continuing to learn. And actually, another thing you didn't touch on is by hooking up with someone in that area, not only did it get, knock the dust off and take the training wheels back off, but getting hooked up with someone in that area and that market. So you're learning what that market is, because the fashion market in Dallas versus the fashion market in the 5 boroughs is a completely different beast. The way people interact with each other, the budgets, what you can charge, all of it, the networking. So it's, you move to a completely different area. You have to learn all of the little nuances of what that new market is.
Exactly. It took a long time to get that New York City mindset. In fact, when I go back to New York I went a couple of years. 2015 was the last time I did Fashion Week in New York, and I was shell shocked. The pace of it was. I have slowed down. Well, I don't want to use the word slow down. I've loved the pace that we have here in the South in Texas.
Yeah.
Compared to the hectic, now pace in New York. So I'm more comfortable now. I will never be able to move back to New York. I'll visit all the time. I love Brooklyn. I love New York City. But in fact, I was supposed to do a job there a month ago, but because New York really started ramping up again with COVID-19, I couldn't stay there for 5 days to get cleared and all that stuff like that. So, but yeah, you learn to adapt to where you are. I'm pretty sure, where you are, Eddie, is going to be different speed than what it is in Dallas. A lot of people, I still chuckle when people say, "Oh, Dallas is such a big city." And I'm like, no, it's a quaint city. I love this city.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love Dallas.
Dallas is one of those little big cities. Yes, it is big. Yes, there are a lot of people, but the environment, the ambiance of it feels homey and
it's
inviting and friendly and
my studio is right in the heart of downtown. I'm in the heart of downtown Dallas.
Okay, so you're down in near Deep Ellum or?
Okay, Deep Ellum is about maybe 2.5 miles, 3 miles from me.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's a long walk.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I'm right by, where Clyde Warren Park is?
Yes.
Okay, I'm right up the block from Clyde Warren Park.
Cool.
So a lot of high-end condos, apartments, and stuff like that. So, but at 6 o'clock, it's done. Everybody's gone home.
Yep.
I hear no cars. The parking lot is right across from me. There's nobody there. It's quiet as a mouse.
And you've got
if you were in New York City, it will be just blaring. Or LA, it'll just be blaring.
Non-stop.
Yeah. So, actually, it's funny because go ahead, Eddie. I'll lead back in.
I just wanted to ask a quick question. Well, it's a double question for you, Omar, because you've talked about mentorship quite a bit. First of all, just to put it out there and be pretty blunt, did you ever have an ego, especially as a photographer? new photographer, whatever it was.
Yes. You know, we all get this little chip on our shoulders or little like, you know, my stuff is better than your stuff or whatever. And I'm very, very thankful to be my wife, who is always keeping me humble. And she keeps me focused on the prize of everything, you know, and how people see you. And so over the past, you know, 15 years with my wife, she's trained me really well to humbly brag, if I want to use that term. There's times when, you know, you got like, I love this shot. I was like, but I ain't gonna throw it out there like, bam, man, look at that.
I feel so. You kind of answered. Yeah, you kind of answered that second part of the question there. You know, how'd you drop that ego, right? You know, you're still, the way you talk, you're still growing. You mentioned even when, you know, you were older, you were carrying around lights and so forth. You were open to dropping that ego and learning from other people. What advice do you have for other young photographers, even older photographers who won't drop that ego, to learn either from a younger photographer who's really good, or, you know, an older photographer who's been doing this for a really long time?
You know, and that's kind of the things I talk about a lot is, number one, there's always going to be somebody better than you. There's always going to be someone that is like, you look at their stuff and I'm like, dang, it's on fire. So you just kind of like, you know, you realize that you're in an industry where it's so selective. People like what they like. So Eddie, in your circle, they're going to be you have a group of people that is going to be Eddie fans. They're going to love your work no matter what. I can't go in there and like, you know what, I got 30 something years of experience. I got all of this. No, they're going to look at me like, you get out of here. We love Eddie. And the same with Josh. You know, you're always going to have that nucleus of people that really are supportive of you. But we have to learn that we're a community of talent. And, you know, I give, like Daniel knows, we've worked together on weddings, you know, we've worked together on gigs. I'll call them, but there's something that I can't do. I got a nucleus of photographers that I feel that I vetted and said, go to them. They can do the job. They can do this. They can do that. Because if we're helping each other, and we're also pricing jobs correctly and doing stuff where, you know, we're not nickel and diming and undercutting each other and chopping each other from the knees. We're building a better quality of work and a quality of clients. You know, so I'm always looking to give back. Because someone gave me so much. I would not be here without Terry, Chris, Larry, those guys, Phyllis Quinton. They're the top of their craft. And, you know, they gave me an opportunity. I call myself, you know, a 17-year-old street rat, you know, and they took me in and gave me this opportunity to grow. Same with my younger brother. My younger brother is a master product photographer. He's just incredible. He actually went to school for fine arts. I slummed my whole way through, and you know I did my learning through assisting photographers. He did his learning
experience.
Right. He did assist, and then he went to school. You know, got a degree in fine arts. So
there's nothing wrong with either path.
Nothing wrong. You know, you can find your path and you find your niche. You know, finding your niche is also one of those things, you know, that helps define the type of person you are.
Yep. All right. So let's go ahead, and I want you to tell me a few of these shots that you've shared with me that you want me to pull up, and let's just kind of talk about those shots, and then we'll lead into that final wrap up where we get really into finding your path in photography.
Sure.
So tell me what shot to pull up here, Omar.
That one.
Which one?
Born to Fly.
Okay. Born to Fly. I love that, actually.
All right,
Yeah.
so that was a book cover from Emmanuel Obi, who's the gentleman that's crouched down.
Mm-hmm.
He's actually an attorney and just very passionate about yoga. And this whole project, my wife, if my wife was on, she would tell you, I've had, it was a love-hate project.
Mm-hmm.
We fought so much about the direction of this book and the direction of everything. We would have, he will call me at 2 a.m, like about certain images. And I'm like, if you don't let me do what I do, this right here was a great learning experience for me. The value of this photo, that particular shot, we worked on this shot for almost an hour. And the young lady, so yoga, if you know anything about yoga, you're in a room that's like at 88 degrees. Okay. Mm-hmm. They use the heat and humidity. So I'm in like my wife beater and shorts, okay, dripping sweat, and trying to take this photo. So the young lady kept slipping. She would literally fall on her face. Mm. As soon as I click, fall. And then it came to a point, it's like, okay, we're going to have to figure out a different pose. So this is the last time we're going to do it. We're going to do this one. This is the last shot of the frame. Mm. So once we got it, we knew that was the cover of the book. And, I learned a lot through that process. And then also the marketing of the book and, the publication, and then, getting it into certain magazines and stuff like that. It's still one of my favorite shots. It's actually almost 7 years old that I did that picture. But it's still one of my favorite photos, and continues to inspire me that that's the type of photographer I want to be known as. Yeah. I don't want my photos to be just stagnant. I want my photos to have a story to it, or tell a story, and have some emotion to it.
Yep. Eddie, you want to lead in with the first question on it?
Well, the one thing that kind of stands out to me is the look on her face, right? You can tell that this photo wasn't a simple photo. This wasn't one of those, oh, hey, let's do this one time and we're done. This you can tell. Honestly, I don't have a question about the photo. I love the photo. To me, it really speaks to me. There are many different ways, not only yoga, but different ways. And the expression on her face is really what sells the photo to me, and the lighting, of course, but it's the face for me.
And that's just one light.
Is it really?
Just one light. One big rectangle softbox. And I call myself the master of the one light, and not to say, I mean, I got lights all over the place here, but
we all do.
I'm just, you get lazy, it's like, yeah. Okay, I can do it all with one light.
Well, I think we all three are in that same boat. We all own a bunch of lights. We all own a bunch of modifiers, but we all tend to fall back on like a single one light setup.
Yeah, it's funny because I sent Josh a picture earlier. I was on my way to a shoot. It was a fitness shoot, and I treat fitness and boudoir my thing. That's kind of where my niche is at. But I treat all my fitness shoots. I give it my all, so I always want to make sure that I carry all my equipment with me. And I haven't done a fitness shoot in about a month or so, serious one, anyways. I took 4 lights, and I'm sitting here like, damn, come on, like, why can't I just do this with one light? But
you saw my setup with Van, and you were like, oh, I got to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Josh, I can't have Josh here so close and not.
But isn't it cool? But isn't it cool when when photographers reach out to you and ask you, how'd you do that shot? Mm-hmm. And then I said, just use one light, and so yeah. I could nitpick a photo and just like, yeah, I could have done this, I could have done that, could have done this. But then also you understand how much expression you want to produce in a photo. So if you want a real nice punchy, fitness shot, an aerial shot or something like that, yeah, you might want to have a rim light and so on. But, I work with a lot of newbies in my, and I want them, and no knock on the gear guys, okay? I don't do gear reviews because I can't afford it. So if you really want to be successful in photography and also successful in the business of photography, if you learn that one light better than anything, adding another light is nothing. It's easy.
Exactly.
But if you go start with getting 4 lights and trying to learn 4 lights at one time, you're screwing yourself.
Yeah.
Learn the one light first, and then master that, and then you just add a light here, add a light here, add a light here.
I take it a step further with most of the people that I train and in the workshops I do, because I started off as a natural light photographer, and I still prefer natural light, but I've made a point to, completely understand and learn single to multiple, supplemental lights and off-camera flash and everything. But I always tell everybody, you know what? The best way to learn is learn natural light, because you're going to learn how the light works, how it reacts, and learn how to work with it and see it, because you have no control over it. Once you understand it, then go to a one light setup, because now you've already got the understanding of light, and now you're just being able to manipulate it a little bit more. And then after you master that, move on to 2 lights, and after that 3 lights, and build up to it. And each progression is a little bit quicker, because you're building more knowledge of the underlying physics and theory and how everything works. And it just translates the more and more you add to it,
So before we change photos here, I do actually have a question for you, Omar. It looks like, so the light is coming from the left, right? Is that correct?
Uh-huh.
Is it on a boom directly above them, or how is this set up?
I couldn't afford a boom at that time. So I had a 12-foot stand, and I had a large white fill card on the right side to kick back some light. And actually, no, I'm lying. I had a silver. I still have that 36-inch silver reflector to kick some contrast back into the photo. But that's all I had. There was a very low budget low budget shoot. I just wanted to do it. It was one of those shoots that I bought into the concept. I need to post some of the photos that I did within the book, because the whole book is contrived of people who are just passionate with yoga, and of all ages. We have young, old, multicultural, all of that. And it's a really, really well done production, and again, it's still one of my favorites.
Yeah.
So I'll wrap up on this picture, because first off, when you sent me all of the pictures that you're like, use these, this is the first one that jumped out at me and kept bringing me back into it.
Yeah.
I love this shot. I love how raw it is. I love the expression in it. I love the textures in the background. I love that it is almost monochromatic and just has slight hints of earth tones mixed into that.
Yeah.
And that brings me to my question about it. How close to your vision in your head is this final shot, or is this something that kind of morphed into being as you built out the shot and continued shooting it?
Again, this was I want to use the word love-hate with the author of the book, Emmanuel. We went back and forth with the design of it, and I really fought for this look. Originally, it was in my mind, it was very flat, and what we were going to do originally just looked just like, to me, snapshots.
Right.
I was like, that's not what we want to do. We got to come with it. We got to come with it. And so we shot. My first studio was 250 square feet. I mean, barely could put a 4-foot wide seamless drop.
Right, shooting with a 35 millimeter lens.
Oh my gosh! And you know what? I had a lot of success with that little studio. Yeah. I had a ton, and again, it'll lead into what we're talking about in a few minutes. But we got it in, and we shot it, and once we got the design of it, we just went through it. It was a process, because I had to send him so many revisions. And then once we hit on this, that's when we went go.
Yep. Quick moment. I see there's quite a few people watching live. If y'all have questions you want us to ask Omar, just throw them in the comments so I can see them pop up on the screen, and we'll ask Omar while we're sitting here talking about everything. All right, guys? Just go ahead and throw them in the comments. Or if you just want to say hi or whatever, throw those comments out there. Y'all can engage with us.
Please say hi.
Yeah, exactly.
Last thing I want to say here about this photo itself, it's Josh and I have said it 100 times before, but you don't need all this equipment to make beautiful photos, guys. Omar proves it.
Yep.
And I'm very grateful for that, because the fact that so like that photo right there, where the mouse is over, the 3 girls.
Okay.
That photo is probably, I think we shot this 2 years ago. Probably one of my, if I don't care, I don't really care about likes, but it probably was one of my most liked photos on Instagram and Facebook. Again, and Daniel was there. Daniel actually shot the behind the scene video for this shoot. So we just wanted to do a really cool concept shoot, and we just had one light in front of a garage. This was in Fort Worth, Texas, in front of not a garage, a warehouse. And we wanted to do this Domino's theme, because we got inspired with Deadpool. It was the first Deadpool.
Yeah.
No, the second Deadpool. And so we're like, oh yeah, let's do this. And it was like maybe 6 or 7 people involved with this shoot. But this shot right here was perfect to me, and just the mood of it and all of that. But again, it's a one light shot outdoors, got a little hot flare there. But it's just, you don't need a whole lot to create art. You just got to have a vision to create art. It starts in here, right? In here, and you're like, okay, we got this vision to do this. Let's make it happen, and then just go for it.
Yep. Get out and shoot often. Even if you don't have a reason to, get out and shoot often. The more you shoot, the more you'll start to see things and start to be able to put together something artistic or your own style, Yep. So I love the shot. And this is something I was actually thinking to myself, because I love industrial spaces, not for big environmental portraits, but for tight stuff like this, because there's always very interesting textures and things for backgrounds. And I will tell you what, I've got so many shots where I put people in front of the rolling metal doors just like that, because there's something about it. Every one of them's different, and it picks up the light and throws all these little shadows and adds so much dimension. I love those metal rolling doors you find all over.
Love it. I'm very fortunate. My studio is right across the street from the post office. And so their loading docks are right there.
Yep.
And so I use their loading doors all the time.
Yep. Cool, man. Eddie, you got any final thoughts on this one?
I don't love the photo. I mean, this is more my style. Obviously, my work. The one thing that really stood out was the flare on the right side corner. Josh calls me out for mine all the time. So,
okay.
It's like, boom, there you go, Josh. Other people do it too.
I don't call you out. I just say, hey, there's that Eddie Flair. But and don't get me wrong. I have been guilty of throwing in a flare here and there that was not there in camera. It's just not very often when I do it.
Hey, we gotta give a shout out to another Cheetah Stand ambassador, Mr. Joe Baker, just came on. What's up, Joe?
Sure. Actually, that's
you need to have him as a guest.
That's on here. We got Stephen Buller up there in New Jersey. We got Martin Poole down there in Australia, Western Australia, Perth. Daniel, I'm assuming, is the DFW area since he's working with you.
Yep.
Shawana, I'm not familiar with. I guess that's one of your girls.
She's one of my mentees. Yes.
All right. Awesome. Then we got Joe out there in Lubbock. That's awesome. I'm not familiar with ST Images.
I am not either.
No. He's on YouTube. He may be one of my YouTube followers or one of your YouTube followers. I don't know. Images, I appreciate you coming on here. That's awesome. Yes, rolling doors, exposed bricks, and fences. Awesome background.
Texture.
Yep, exactly. And then we got David Smith as well. So cool, guys. Thank you all for coming on here.
David actually has a question there for you, Omar. Do you retouch your own photos or do you employ a retoucher?
Okay, so that's a two-part. All my commercial work goes to a retoucher. In fact, right after we get out of here, I got to send my retoucher's in Vietnam, and I got to send an image to her because I don't have the brain power to do it. And it's a commercial shoot, and what I do is lay out the instructions either on the image or on a JPEG.
Yeah.
And then send it out to the retoucher. She gets it back to me within two to 3 days, and done deal. You know, that's something when you're learning the business of photography, you start equating time over process.
Yep.
And I love retouching. All of these photos here that are posted, I've retouched.
Right.
But when it comes to when you're dealing with brands and you're dealing with, especially, you have a client, this particular client's out of Paris, not Paris, Texas. Paris.
Hey, there ain't nothing wrong with Paris, Texas. Nice little town.
Nothing wrong.
Paris, Arkansas. So
I drive through it all the time.
Yeah.
But you got a team of people over there and all of that. And some, as a photographer or content creator, you just want to okay, let me get the foundation of it and then move it forward, Gotcha. So, but when it comes to creative lighting and creative stuff like this, I love retouching my own work. I just feel like, it's just me. That's an extension of me. So extension of the photo. So, and I always will do that, my editorial style work. But, other than that, most of the stuff will just be, I got to set it off. Need time. There's only so many hours in a day.
That is very true. So ST Images is Scott Thompson out of Baltimore. Hey, brother, thanks for joining us. Martin Poole actually said, can you please share your retoucher? Sometimes we're a little, private about that stuff. If you don't want to say who your retoucher is here, just message Martin privately, offline, whatever, I do want to touch on that topic, though, because I love to retouch. I love to teach people to retouch. I love working on my own images almost as much as I love to shoot them. But I will say that I've done quite a bit of commercial work, especially when I was living up in the Northeast. And even when I moved down here, I was going back up there like every 4 to 6 weeks to shoot commercial stuff. And for the commercial stuff, there was usually 2 ways it played out. One was I would actually outsource the retouching of it like you do. The other is it was done through a agent or whatever, and they had their own retouchers, and I was just there to shoot the raw images and hand them off.
Mm-hmm. And that's the best. Actually, it's really the best scenario.
Yeah.
Because all you're focusing is getting the lighting right, getting the right camera and all that stuff like that. Those who know me, I just shot a Ducati motorcycle shoot.
Nice.
And I'm not retouching that, because there's flares, there's light shot. I mean, there's a lot of work. That's going away because my job is to get it as close to in camera, and then let the retouchers do their job.
So I guess my question for both of you, since I don't outsource, right? But you guys are talking on commercial work. I guess how exactly does that work when it comes to your rights? Do you guys get to share the work once it's done, or once you take that photo, it's done and you?
No, that is all within the contract. It is all negotiated up front before a single image is ever clicked.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's different also with different clients. The licensing of images are very, very key and specific. So if let's say you're shooting, and I think probably 75% of people who hire you don't even understand this. They just like licensing. What does that mean? When you're dealing with corporations and you're dealing with true marketing firms and advertising firms, they understand what that means and what they can use that image for and how that images can be shown. Like we had models for the Ducati shoot. They all had to sign contracts that they couldn't share any of the behind the scenes photos and stuff like that.
This also brings you back around to where we started with having a mentor that's in the industry that you want to be in, the market that you want to be in, because when it comes to the legalities of things, when I first started doing some commercial stuff, I really wish I had the experience of someone that was in the industry and learned from them, because I basically gave away my life in the beginning and had no rights to anything legally. And I've got a lot of work for some recognizable brands that I can't share, because I don't even own the rights to them, because I was stupid. I didn't know. I didn't have somebody to tell me, no, that's not how you do this. No, you need to be charging more. No. So having someone, not even just a mentor, but just befriend somebody that's actually on that level that you can ask, hey, by the way, I have this opportunity, but they're asking for this, and this. Is that, legit, or should I be, negotiating this, Yep.
So we got a couple of questions here in the chat. Please, forgive me if I say your name wrong, but Baskar has a question here. What do you mean by commercial stuff? Is it product orientated or people or blend? It's a couple of different questions there.
Commercial means anything this is my understanding. It could be different for Josh or for Eddie, but a commercial shoot is anything that is pointing towards advertising and marketing.
Right.
So it could be a product, you got the Santi is a brand. So they contacted me and they said, we want you to shoot this bottle.
Right.
So there is a contract that goes with this bottle to say, this is the color we're supposed to have. This is the label that's supposed to have. We want it on this setting. There's a layout guide, where they want it on the frame. So there's instructions to this.
Right.
An editorial shoot, like the watch shoot that I did, that was an editorial style shoot where the brand wanted me to be creative with their product. So even though it is advertising, it was a lot more lifestyle, and it was geared for social media. It wasn't geared for a billboard. It wasn't geared for a print ad or something like that. So we had liberties to do what we wanted to do with that. And so those images were created for social media. So there's a lot of different nuances with how do you handle images for advertisers and marketers. So that's a workshop, actually.
Yeah. So definitely go ahead, Josh.
Okay. I call commercial is like the global umbrella. All right. To me, commercial is basically anything that is advertising or representing a product, a brand, a service, a lifestyle, whatever. Basically, it's intended for some kind of marketing, whether it's catalog work or an editorial that's showing off a brand or a lifestyle or a service. That all falls under commercial. And then your family portraits and weddings and all of that stuff is not commercial. That's how I separate them. Under commercial, then you break it down into, okay, so this is catalog work, this is ad work, this is lifestyle, branding. Then it breaks down in smaller niches underneath that commercial umbrella. That's how I think of it.
So that's pretty cool. What I was going to say is, it sounds like it's almost a lot like the video content that I do for, these little small 5, 6, 8-second commercials that I do for brands. I just didn't know that this much work went into the photography side of things. I knew it on the video side, not on the photography things. When when you mentioned the water and placing it and the color and everything, I know that. So that's really cool.
Licensing, and again, is a long conversation, but I get people call me, and the actual photographers will hit me up because they're working with major brands and they don't want to get ripped off. I will make more money. I make more money with licensing images than I ever do on a photo shoot.
Yep.
Period.
Yep.
Period.
That is always the case.
Yep.
And the great thing about it is you license it for a short amount of time, and if they really love it, they either hire you for another session or they will relicense the same images.
Yep. That's our residual income.
Yep.
And so, it's one thing, when we shoot portraits and seniors and all that, which I love doing all of that. I just did a senior session the other day. And I enjoy that. I enjoy all of that. But when you get a brand that says, well, I have to do a bid for an airport. Mm-hmm. So with this airport, is they're wanting to do a holiday ad. So there's the day of the shoot, the expenses of the day of the shoot, the talent, the makeup artist. In fact, I just got a message from my makeup artist, hairstylist, all that. Then how many images are they going to actually use for their content? Is it going to be digital? Is it going to be print? Is it going to be media? What media? How long do they need to use it for?
How big of an area, the audience that's going to be viewing? Is it going to be local, regional, national, international? That all factors into how much you're licensing for.
Yeah. And then, then you just, you're like, okay, we can do this, and this. That's why you have the car tailors of the world.
Yep.
So, it's fun. It's funny. And if car tailor's on this broadcast.
No, Carl's not on here. Ian is another one that's just an amazing commercial photographer. He's a 7-figure commercial photographer.
Yeah, he was a millionaire before he started doing any of his YouTube stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
To run the studio that he has, if you're shooting for Mercedes, okay, you're not just shooting for Mercedes. You're part of this whole marketing concept. If you're shooting for Nike or you're shooting for brands like that, it's not a one and done thing. They have to have this almost complete involvement with their marketing team, because the dollars are so big, for these ads. They spend roughly, $300,000 or $400,000 minimum for a small ad, and a big print, TV ad, video, all that stuff. You're in the millions. So there's some good money in that.
All right. Daniel said we need a workshop on licensing. You do need a workshop on licensing. Licensing is a beast. And I mean, every market is different, but there are some general principles to follow. And I mean, there's licensing calculators out there. And I mean, I've got an Excel spreadsheet that I've built up over the years that I use for just general, quoting purposes, but that kind of stuff. Yeah, you definitely need A workshop on licensing and a workshop on bidding. Because when you're doing a commercial job and you're the lead on it, you have to understand every single penny that is involved in that so you can bid correctly, you know? So your rental for the location, all of the equipment rentals, your models, your hair and makeup, your props, your every single penny that is an expense, you have to be able to estimate and bid and roll that into your bid up front. And if you're working with someone or a company on that level, they're expecting all of those line items to be on that bid. And if you don't have those line items, they'll actually kind of blow you off because they'll be like, this guy doesn't know what he's doing, you know?
Yeah, and Daniel, don't even get me started because I have that business. I do that business workshop every year, every January, and you never go to that one. So I'm calling you out, my friend. You like to go photograph the models and stuff like that, but when it comes to the nitty gritty, you guys gotta come. They want to do your homework. You got to come to that business workshop.
All right, let's pick one more favorite here, Omar, and let's talk about it, and then we'll roll into that final finding your path, and we'll call it a night. How about that?
All right. Well, I'll let you guys pick it. I mean, I picked the first two, so.
All right, I'll let Eddie pick it. You tell me which one, Eddie.
Scroll down for me. The black and white tattooed guy.
All right.
I knew it.
This is my style. I saw this picture and I was like, gosh, I love everything about this image. It's just grit, the editing, the tattoos, the shirt, everything about this photo. This is my style. This is what I grew up. This is back when I was in California, what I used to shoot a lot of tattoos,
It definitely has that SoCal feel.
Yeah, I grew up, out there. I was a little hood kid, little hooligan. And looking at this is kind of what it reminds me of. I just love everything about this image. So,
well, this was I was tapping into my inner Joe Grimes. So
yeah,
I haven't shot. I don't do a lot of shoots like this, but this this gentleman here, is a photographer. Actually, he's a photographer in his own right and content creator, video, does a lot of stuff. And I just, did a casting call and say, hey, man, I'm looking for somebody with beard and a lot of tattoos. And he hit me up and he came over to the studio. And we probably just shot for like 15 minutes. We did some outside stuff in studio. One light with the beauty dish. And in fact, beauty dish is sitting right there, gridded, silver beauty dish. Gridded and just wanted that really contrasty look, and I shot it really underexposed. I mean, the original raw file is like, whoa, you can barely see his face. But again, I'm a Sony shooter. I love the dynamic range that Sony cameras give you. Not necessarily the color, but the dynamic range is phenomenal. Nikon's also, I shot Nikon for 20 plus years, but with the Sony cameras, I just really, really like once you hit it and really get that zone exposure. Yeah, you can create some amazing black and whites with their files.
Yeah, if you see me, put out a model call out there and recreate an image similar to this, you were the inspiration for it because, again, this is how I used to shoot.
Wait. Weren't you just bitching at me about somebody else copying your style?
Hey, I don't want to. I am letting Omar know that if it's not going to be the same pose.
It's okay because you're asking permission right now with a large audience.
So we're not Facebook buddies, and I was like, man, what's Eddie doing?
This is
totally snatching me.
Yeah, my cousin, he's a tattoo artist. I took a lot of similar photos of him like this. This takes me back to the day where, I was new with the Nikon D3200. I just got my first light. I didn't know what I was doing, but this is similar images that I used to create. Harsh light, But just this image, you know, I love it. Everything about it, everything just takes me back years to the reason why where I'm at today and how I was able to evolve. But I just love everything about the image.
And I think, you know, I'm pretty sure Josh agrees with me. You got to have range. You just can't be, like I said, we said earlier in the broadcast, you can't be a one-trick pony. If you're really wanting to grab some clients that will enjoy your photography, most of my clients are fans. They followed me before I even knew they were going to be clients. I have one realtor that I did her branding session. She said, "I've been following you on Instagram for years. I just finally lost enough weight to do the shoot, you know, and stuff." But you know, you don't know who's looking at your work. You don't know what story are you telling to that potential customer. So, you know, I wanted I wanted this expression. I didn't want him to look menacing. I wanted him to look what he was feeling and reflecting, and maybe one day this might be my inspiration for a portrait series. You know, when I get time to do stuff that I wanted to, this is something I wanted to do. This was something that I had some time to do. But a lot of times, you know, full-time photographers, to keep the doors open, you don't get to do stuff like this. Once in a blue moon, you get a client knock on your door and say, "Hey, man, I saw this photo on your website. I really like that. Can we do that style of shoot?" That's like a breath of fresh air. It's like, oh, finally. You know, other than the regular, you know, stuff. So you got to continue so that you don't crack up. Always doing business. But throw some of your art out there. Get some inspiration. Joe Grimes inspired me. I love Joe Grimes' work. He's me. You know, he shoots for a lot of brands and stuff. I want to, you know, I don't shoot as many brands as he does, but I got some nice brands. But he's a working photographer. So when you get to do some fun stuff, go do it. You do something that inspires you and allow yourself some range, some experiences.
Yeah, to me, again, just based on, you know, where I grew up and everything, to me, this image is so strong. I mean, it tells a story to me. I'm able to connect with this image just simply because, again, the parts of California where I grew up in, the heavy tattoo work, you nailed the expression, the beard, everything about it. So I'm a huge fan about this photo, or for this photo. And I just love it, man. Great job with the image.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Cool. Yeah, I'm a fan of the image as well. I actually have one little question for you. So I love that there's just this very faint halo right behind him. Is that some kind of spill, or did you do some kind of post to try and create that separation?
I did dodge and burn the shirt, and obviously his chest, but I did not do anything to the backdrop. That is spill, because I had the light too far, to angle too far. It wasn't straight on top of him. So it was too far to the left of him, and so you had a little bit more exposure on the left side of or the right side. Or the left side of the picture. So that was by accident. I could have cleaned it up and darkened it up and not, you know, but like me, sometimes I like happy accidents. It's like, oh, it looks good.
Yeah, no, it definitely works. It gives like just enough separation to bring him out on that side. And then I love how he falls off into the shadow on the opposite side.
Exactly. Right. And that's the only shot that's really like that, because his face was too straight on and made it wasn't as flattering to me, and because it just widened his face a little bit too much. And so when he turned it a little bit, just was the perfect angle.
Yeah. It's an awesome picture, and I love that it's black and white and it's so contrasty and just dynamic. It's just an awesome shot. So
yep, it really is. David's got a question on here. What brand of backdrops would you recommend? I'm not sure if he means paper or, but
90. I have everything. we got tons of seamless here. Paper, seamless. So Thunder Gray is my number one. I go through Thunder Gray like I need stock.
Yeah.
That's my number one.
Buy it in bulk.
I do everything in Thunder Gray. Obviously you have to have. I have Arctic White as my seamless white paper, and we have other colors. Cocoa and banana, whatever. So certain clients will tell you, "Oh, we want you to match this." La 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 la. So I carry the 4-foot roll and the 8-foot rolls. So we always have a combination of that depending on what we're shooting. And I did my first painted backdrop, which is really good. I really like it. But I'm being sparing with it because you don't want to shoot it too much. And it's like, man, you just use it too much. So, but I'm going to get ready to paint my second canvas backdrop. The first canvas backdrop is like an olive green with some mustard sprinkles on it, mustard colored. And my next one will be another kind of a chalkboard. I like chalkboard. So I'm going to try to do an iteration of that. But a lot of my stuff, if you pull back into the photos, I can show you. Let's see. Okay, so the bearded guy go back down. Okay, so the model, do the Dallas model, the one right above it. Yep. So that is Thunder Gray.
Yep.
With a digital backdrop. So the digital backdrop, I have textures that I have hundreds and hundreds of textures that I will overlay on top of Thunder Gray to create a different look. That is probably if you want to save some money and not have, if you don't have the space to have hundreds of rolls of paper or the money to buy hand-painted backdrops, which I think they're the best. But if you're really good at texturing, do that. Save yourself a headache. Learn how to do layer texturing, and you can create whatever backdrop you want. So I can create a cinematic look. I can create, a different texture. I can do whatever I want by just adding texture to my simple Thunder Gray.
Yeah.
And save yourself a fortune.
Yeah. Brand-wise for paper, are you using Savage or do you have a different brand?
Our local camera store, which is Competitive Camera, which is the Dallas location, I use Savage. They sell Savage paper.
Nice. Yeah, Savage is the way I go as well. So.
But I will also, I will agree with Omar. Having at least one, if not several, hand-painted backdrops, there is no comparison to a quality hand-painted backdrop. The printed backdrops, yeah, there's some that are nice looking, but you just don't get the texture. And it does translate in your photos. The actual texture of a hand-painted backdrop versus a printed backdrop, if you can afford it, or if you have the artistic ability to make one yourself, absolutely do it. I've got 4 or 5 I've done myself, and every time I do it, I feel like I get a little bit better at doing it. So explore that idea. It's actually a fun process.
It is. I had a lot of fun doing mine, and it wasn't that expensive. If you find, a good, there's a couple of places where you get the canvas. For not that much, and there's some wholesale places you can order it from.
You can get the pre-gessoed like heavy duck canvas on the roll for really cheap, especially online. You end up paying almost as much in shipping as you do for the canvas itself. So,
yeah, right.
Yeah,
but I do credit those. I have a couple of friends of mine who are excellent. They have a fine art backdrop, company that they just do an amazing job with it, and it's worth every dollar. I mean, it's $300. It's worth it because they know how to do those backdrops for photographers.
Right.
So,
exactly.
If you don't have the time or the space, and you want a really, really nice backdrop, and you want to get into more of a fine art look, I would definitely invest in one.
Yeah, exactly. If you don't have the money to go for a hand painted backdrop, there's a few options. Actually, Kate's backdrops. I've got experience with several Kate's backdrops. I've never bought one myself, but I have shot in front of several of them, and they're good backdrops for being a printed backdrop, and they're reasonably priced. So
yeah, I have two, and when I go on location, I'll bring one with me. But I also have two Thunder Great backdrops, pop-ups that I bring with me as well, because that's just what I do.
Cool. Well, let's go ahead and let's hit on that question our topic that we were talking about earlier, where it is finding your path in photography. So first off, Omar, what do you define as your path whenever you're talking about finding your path in photography?
A lot of photographers, especially obviously newbies, new ones, you buy your camera, you get inspired by looking at Joe Baker's work or or Josh Mills or Eddie's work. You're like, oh, I want to do that. And,
or Omar's.
You get really inspired and you get frustrated because you don't get it right away. You don't I don't know how you did that, Joe. I don't know how you did that, Josh. And you get frustrated and the camera goes back on the box on the shelf and just sits there. And you spent $3,000 on that camera system, and you're frustrated because you can't get out of to first base. And I look at photography as a journey. It was a journey for me. A lot of us got into photography not necessarily as a vocation, but as a passion. Mm-hmm. I got into it because I just love art. Okay, I wanted to be a comic book before I got into photography. I wanted to be a comic book illustrator, but I realized I can't draw. That's the one requirement that you really needed to do is you actually needed to learn how to draw. And I interned at a graphic illustrator. I interned into a graphic design studio. And these guys, I don't know. I know Josh, you would know because you're closer to my age. Remember Heavy Metal magazine?
Oh yeah.
Oh come on, that thing was just phenomenal. Phenomenal artwork. These guys were doing Heavy Metal magazine.
Nice.
And I'm like so inspired, but I couldn't draw. Mm-hmm. I couldn't draw. So
Heavy Metal was like that combination of comic book, but more of an adult level because it was erotic and pushed the boundaries, and it was always like up on the top shelf next to
you don't you just don't leave it lying around for the kids to
exactly. Heavy Metal and H.R. Geiger back in the day, kind of reminiscent of the same thing. That were the two like inspirations when I was back then.
But I really wanted to draw, and I really wanted to like Frank Frazetta.
Frazetta was amazing.
He did all the Conan covers and book covers and stuff like that. So I was inspired by that. And then when I got into photography, I didn't know what I wanted to do as a photographer. I shot fire hydrants and bicycles and whatever I saw that I thought was interesting. It could be, plane, whatever, inanimate objects.
I got pictures of doors and all kinds of stuff.
So then I started experiencing this lull, and I was getting kind of frustrated until my mentor gave me a roll of film, and he said, "This is what I want you to do. Here's a 36 exposure roll of film, and I want you to photograph something different each and every frame. Like you couldn't photograph two of the same thing. Like if I did a headshot or a person, a portrait, I couldn't do another portrait. It took me 2 weeks to go through that roll of film. And I learned so much
on each frame, didn't you?
Yeah. He did the Master Miyagi wax on, wax off thing on me. It was like, I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. But after I finished shooting that roll of film, I realized what I gravitated to and what I enjoyed, and it got my brain to work, and I started narrowing down my passion. And so photographers, instead of trying to be the next whoever, you know, there's some amazing content creators, there's amazing photographers out there. Pull within yourself what draws you to photography. You know, you can be honest. You know, I like shooting. I like shooting women. I shoot a lot of women. You know, it's actually easy for me. I mean, it's not you know, in the beginning it was a challenge, but now I can do a model call and usually get who I want and stuff like that. But the challenge is are you going to be happy doing that? Are you going to be enjoying taking that photo and not looking at, and I'm not trying to be funny. Like I look at Josh's photos and I'm like, oh my God, they're freaking amazing. And this comparison, you start getting into this comparison thing. It's like, my photos will never be that way. So don't do that. Don't do that to yourself, because you will be frustrated and walk away. But use these photos as an inspiration. So, quick story. You guys know I took a break from photography, and you know I had to get back in. I had no idea how to use Photoshop or any of this stuff. I really had no clue. Pinterest wasn't around yet, and none of the only thing was around was Facebook. Twitter wasn't around, none of that, but Facebook was around. So what I did was I will go on the internet and I will go look for photos that inspired me. And man, I have that still somewhere. But anyway, I created this little book of photos that I just enjoyed. And that's what I'm going to work on. I'm going to work on that. I don't want to copy it, but I want to know that I commanded the camera so that I can emulate what I copied or what I printed. So I printed this book, and I like, okay, I got this look, I got this look, I got this look, and worked on it. Now it's in my muscle memory. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to look at my back of my camera or know the settings. I practice. And so I will always enjoy shooting people. I will always shoot people, whether if it's male model, female model, magazine, whatever. I'm always going to shoot people because I enjoy communicating and talking to people and relating to them. That gentleman right there is an attorney. You know, he was a professional model. He's still a professional model, but he used to be with Wilhelmina up in New York. So the Nike ads and all kinds of stuff. So you connect with people. They all have stories. And so that helps me. I don't even think about the camera. I'm thinking about you transcend and you think about the emotion of the photo. You talk about, you know, not setting the pose. You're letting them communicate to you something. So that's my passion. And so you new photographers, get inspiration. Get inspiration from Josh, from Eddie, from Joe and Daniel, you know, those who put their stuff out there, and you start creating this little Pinterest board or book, and you start practicing.
Pinterest, 100%. I always tell everybody, create a Pinterest account and use it, even if you just create private boards that only you can see, where you can collect images that you are drawn to and that you can draw from for inspiration. I've got a Pinterest account. I've got probably 15 different boards on it. I've got several that are public that I use to share out with people that want to, you know, work with me. I say, hey, these are things that I am interested in. If you are looking for ideas of something you would like to shoot with me. But I also have private boards of just crazy stuff that I'm like, I need to figure out how to do this, you know?
And isn't it such a great feeling when you get a shot and you're like, maybe 15 years ago, I couldn't do that shot. Or
absolutely.
And you're like, I could do this shot.
This is actually something that you said brought this to mind, and it's something I find funny every single time. You say you get to the point where it's muscle memory and you don't have to think about the camera. All right. That is so true. There are so many looks that are just muscle memory to me. And when I say looks, I'm talking about, lighting setup, blah, 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 right? That literally I can walk into any scenario, I can set up the lights, and it is so ingrained in me. I don't use a light meter, and 9 times out of 10, I nail the exposure and the look on the very first frame that I click, because it's just muscle memory to me, and I don't have to meter it or anything else. I just know.
Yep.
Yep.
Exactly. Exactly.
And when you get to that point, that opens up your mind to think about everything else that's going on. Then you start noticing all the little distractions in the background, or you start noticing, hey, you know what? The emotion isn't right here. So then you say something to get an emotional reaction out of your subject. That's when you start really creating. So when you get past the technical and you can start working on the emotional and the artistic and everything else.
And if you refocus why you do photography, so yeah, we got Instagram accounts, and we got our Facebook and stuff like that, and somebody gets 1 million likes on a photo and you get 5.
Yeah, I mean, awesome.
So so we all start somewhere. I'm not. I use the philosophy. I want the right people to look at my work, not everybody to look at my work.
Yeah.
I want to attract the right clientele that appreciate my work, not to be. And there's nothing wrong. I mean, we got guys, that have 50,000, 100,000 followers, and 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 likes on a photo, but I rather have 50 likes on, and all of those 50 likes are some people who are bookers, agencies.
Exactly.
Clients.
Somebody that will hire me.
Yeah, my kids don't follow me. I mean, they don't. I mean, even my daughter, who's a model, she doesn't follow my stuff. I'm like, okay, all right, fine. But I'm booking her for jobs. So my mindset is, am I creating the work that, like Joe said it earlier, create the stuff that you want people to hire you for. Yeah. And if I was not doing this for a living, if I was just doing this as a hobby, I probably still do the same thing, stuff that inspires me. I'm not looking, and I'm the guy that likes everybody's stuff. I will go, Eddie, you already know. I'll be like, yes, and Josh post something. I'm gonna like it because I know what it takes to get that photo. People don't put the value in that anymore. No one puts the value on the gear, the cost, the setup, the getting it together, the location, the travel, the editing, all that stuff that goes into a photo. And everyone went, okay, next. Next. I'm always going to support the content creator because I know what it takes to do what we do.
Yeah. I actually want to address Bhaskar. I'm probably mutilating your name. I'm sorry for that. He actually commented, since you mentioned film camera shooting, I would like to ask this question. I've been many places that the shots will be fired in burst mode, multiple shots. Is that the right way of doing things? Personally, I used film cameras for about 20 years, about 20 years ago, and shot in various conditions and couldn't shoot more than one shot at a time. Am I still doing that? I may be wrong. What do you advise? Personally, I think that in the digital age, you kind of go through a transition, because in the digital age, you are completely unlimited. You can shoot, 10,000 shots or whatever. But as you progress, you get past that and you start to cycle back around, and like me, I will go and I won't shoot more than 30 to 50 frames of any given looker set. That's it. That's the max. And even then I'm like, I'm throwing most of these away. I'm keeping 5 out of that. I'm keeping 10% of those. I'm not going and shooting 1,000 images of any given look or set. First off, I don't want to go through the hassle of culling that. Second of all, getting 1,000 versus getting 30 to 50, you're not getting any more better looks, or especially once you start getting comfortable with not only your own settings for the look, but also posing and working with your subjects. Where if you need to shoot more than 30 to 50 shots of any given set to get your 3 to 5 fire shots, you probably need to kind of rethink and start looking at, how do I hone this down to where I don't need to put so much work in it and rely on this, machine gun approach,
Yeah. We're, you, Josh, Eddie, we all know time is money, know, and I gotta edit tonight, or after this we're working, most of us stay up late working. And we come to a point where, as working photographers, we understand that I'll probably pick 5 pictures out of this whole set. If you're doing editorial stuff or TFP or whatever, I'm the worst. I'm the worst guy to do TFP with, because I do 1 picture. Like, you get one, And if you really like it, you might get 2. But
I promise 3, and I will do up to 5 if there just happens to be a couple more that I'm just like, man, those are just too good not to do.
I promise 3, but
I promise 3.
1 or 2 is kind of where I.
I mean, I guess that's where I get the nickname. I get the nickname because of that. I had a makeup artist who gave me that nickname because I got to, again, you feed your creative side, and you do this for, to get your, we do this because we're testing out stuff.
Yeah.
I got a new camera, I got a new lens, I got a new light, I got a new modifier. I
got a new location. I
found something. That's why we do this. I'm not doing this to get 1 million of these same photos on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not knocking you guys. This is just me. Just my philosophy. I don't like to post more than 2 photos at one time. I never do that.
Joe, you're making us look bad.
Joe, go ahead and just leave the cat now.
That's why they love you in Lubbock, Joe.
That's how he gets all those models.
Yeah, that's how he gets it. He lathers them. But Baskar, if I said it correctly, when we were shooting film, there was a cost to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. You gotta, you're processing a roll of film, and especially if you're making prints, it was $14 a roll or $18 a roll back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And you do, 2, 3, 4, 5 rolls, it gets really expensive real quick. So you end up being more selective with your shooting, and you're not just shooting, you're not praying and spraying. No. You're not putting a motor drive on that thing and just shooting all over the place.
No.
Here with digital, we have, even with your phone, you can create so much content with it and just go to burst mode, and then you have all these unwanted, unnecessary photos.
Yep.
I'd rather you be more selective in your shots, and then pick the best ones.
Yep.
Go ahead, Josh.
No, go ahead. It's going to be long.
Yeah. So, and just to touch up on the burst mode, obviously every burst mode has its time, right? I've shot sports or stuff of that nature where I needed burst mode to be able to get that shot, just simply because whether it's basketball or soccer, they're running and it's got to be burst mode. I could sit there and click one time and try to get the shot, but burst mode has saved me. When we're looking at, working with a model or, with brands or whatever it is, like Josh said, at one point you get comfortable and you get in your groove that you're no longer taking 100 to 150 to 300 pictures. It's a simple 40, 50, you're done and you call it a day. So
exactly. Yep. And it's one of those things like we were saying, the more you get comfortable with a specific look, the more it just becomes muscle memory. And the more that you just, it's not even a second thought. You're not even thinking about it. And the thing that comes to mind for me is when I do commercial work, and I'm specifically talking more of like product and catalog stuff. And it's actually funny because I don't know if Martin is still on here, but Martin down in Australia, he actually came to the United States. He actually met up with me in New York, and I let him tag along on one of the catalog shoots that I had booked. And, he specifically asked if he could tag along because previously we were talking. I was like, yeah, the last catalog shoot I did, I had 300 outfits that I had to shoot 2 different setups of each outfit. So a total of 600 looks. And I did it all in one day. And he's like, what? I was like, yeah, I did it all in one day. And at the end of the day, my total image count was only 737. And I provided them 600 images out of those 737. He's like, no way. I was like, yeah, come on the next catalog shoot. I'll show you how I did it. And it's one of those that I literally rented a space that I had room to do 2 different lighting setups, and my camera was the pivot point on a tripod. So I literally just turned for each shot. And then I was tethered to my laptop running Capture One, which then was tethered to a big 60-inch monitor on the wall so that I could look up and check and make sure that they didn't blink or whatever during the shot, right? And it was literally step and repeat. We had a dozen models and a row of stylists literally just changing them. Boom, 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 boom. Just, I would do shoot in front of this setup, step over into that next setup, shoot. Each time I'd look up at the monitor, make sure that there wasn't a blink or anything. Then they'd cycle back around to the end of the line and change wardrobe. And I did 300 outfits, two different setups for each outfit. So a total of 600 in one day. And I only, at the end of the day, had 737 total shots. 600 of them were keepers.
Wow.
And he was like, you guys show me this. So when he came over here, I took him to another catalog shoot that I did the same thing. It wasn't quite that elaborate. I think we did 125 outfits with 2 setups. So roughly, 250, 300 looks. And I had less than 500 shots for that entire day. Because I knew those setups and I knew how to cycle these people through, and I knew how to work with the people that I had involved in it. So,
Yep. And then you realize, when it comes down, when you have a licensing, they go like, oh, we just want 3 pictures.
No, they wanted all of them, but it was small, like online e-commerce stuff,
So, photographers, I follow you guys, and I get inspired by your passion because you find your niche, you find your where your creative juices flow. When I do my glamour stuff and boudoir stuff, that's not my, I don't make any money like that in my commercial. I make my money in my commercial stuff. But I enjoy working in that fine art space because it's art. It's art, and when you're having a beautiful model to work with you, and you're lighting it and you're painting light over that model, and you're seeing the expression that you're getting, that connection that you're getting with that model, and then you capture that, that's a euphoria, that feeling, and that to me makes it enjoyable, than the regular 9-to-5 grind that we fall into.
Yep.
I gotta get these edits out. I gotta do this. I gotta meet with this client. I got a headshot session. I got this session, whatever. And those are great, but this, you got to find time to express yourself.
Yeah, because if you don't, you will start hating it.
Yep.
You will. That's why I got burnt out.
Yep. And I think that if we all go through burnouts, I mean, I've burnt out a couple times, and you just kind of, I've never gotten to the point that I sold all my gear, but I have had times that I've taken several months and not shot a single frame.
Yep, 2020 was my year for my burnout year. Actually,
Yeah.
I got back in, never really left, but I got back into my groove right about 3 months ago. So
you could get a bad batch of clients that just drive you insane.
Yep.
And just like, I'm not having fun doing this. I'd rather flip burgers. There's nothing wrong flipping burgers. Burgers not talking back at you. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
That's when I go and start shooting a lot of landscapes for a period of time.
Daniel, you don't even invite me to go fishing. You know,
it's okay. Josh doesn't invite me either.
I see him in all these little water holes with his dog, and I'm here just busting my butt, and he's like, "Oh yeah, look what I got." Yeah.
Eddie, I'll take you fishing, but to be quite honest with you, fishing to me is my chance to like get out by myself with nobody else around and just decompress.
Nope. Yep. Makes sense. I'm from the city. I don't care.
Yeah.
I love fishing.
I'll take you fishing though if you want to go fishing.
I love fishing. Set up a fishing trip, man. I'll
go. You know what? We need to go down to Texas and we need to go hit like Lake Fork or Lake Sam Rayburn and do some bass fishing. Oh man, that's where I grew up, was fishing Lake Fork and Sam Rayburn.
I'll come and drink beer. Watch you there.
We can do that too.
All right. Well, Eddie, do you have any final questions?
I don't. The only thing I really want to say, Omar, is first of all, thank you just for being on. Right, I've done this for a while. Ego is always there. We all have egos, but I learned so much, man. Just hearing you speak and hearing you talk. I really wish that everybody who's on this podcast or who's going to watch this podcast really sits down and dives in and pays attention to everything you said, because even with the years of experience that I have, just the knowledge that you provided, I'm grateful for. And just being able to know you outside of just like, traditional posts on Facebook and sharing your work or whatever it is, it's amazing. You're a great guy. Just, speaking for however long we spoke, just hearing you talk, the love that you have for photography, I can relate with, Josh can relate with. So, huge thank you on my side. Thank you for coming on. It was a pleasure. And I hope, we end up in Dallas here soon and we can all shoot together and make a great day out of it.
So. Hey man, I would love for you guys to come over because I got the spots. Daniel will help me out. If you don't mind, can I do a little shameless plug?
Go right ahead. By the way, I got all your contacts scrolling across the bottom of the frame, by the way.
Awesome. Just fittingly, Joe Baker and we met at a cheetah stand, Gold Ox.
Yep.
Filming. That's when we first met, and we did a YouTube video together. And just amazing person, funny to be around with. So on December 5th, and we don't have the flyer yet, but on December 5th, we are co-hosting a workshop together with ClearScope Media, where we're going to be doing a tutorial filming as well. And I'm really honored that Joe is going to be a part of it. We were going to do it just ourselves, but it got bigger and bigger and bigger. Cheetah Stand is going to be one of our sponsors.
Yeah, Cheetah is awesome. Edward is awesome.
Competitive camera, Arlington camera.
You need a model. I'll come down there and model for you in my G-string.
You definitely do. So once keep on our social media feeds. Once we get that information, we'll post it. Yep. And guys, if you have any questions offline, you can also hit me up. But Eddie, Josh, thank you so much for this opportunity. I've learned a lot just this conversation, and we're continually growing. Photography is our legacy.
Exactly.
When we go, guess what stays behind? The work that we produce. So think about that. When you take that camera and you photograph whatever you're photographing, people are going to remember you by what you shot. So, so let's keep shooting. Let's keep practicing. Let's keep doing. The words of Ivan. I forgot the name. The basketball player. Ivan. Yeah. So he said, "Practice. What do you mean practice? No, you got to practice. You got to keep shooting. You can't just put your camera down and shoot a couple of days and then 6 months later pick it back up.
Exactly.
You got to work on it. You won't get good as these guys here if you don't practice. These guys are amazing content creators, but you got to practice. We all started from nothing.
Absolutely.
I don't know any photographer to just automatically get a camera and just create this amazing content. We all practice.
Yep. And experiment.
Experiment, yes.
Yep.
Hopefully legally.
Omar, brother, I really enjoyed this. I really do appreciate that you came on here. Yeah, definitely, guys, go and check out Omar. All of his information's been scrolling across the bottom of the screen. His Instagram, his websites. Follow him. He has a YouTube. I didn't get it put up in here, but I saw him promoted a little while ago. Omar, what's your YouTube channel?
Ramos Photography.
All right, yeah, go and follow him. You know, help him build up his YouTube subs. You know, get him going.
I want to get to 101.
Oh, you already passed 101, dude. I was 106 on your.
All right.
Yeah, so now that you've passed the 100 threshold, you can go and do a custom URL.
We're gonna work on it.
There you go.
I did send you a follow on Instagram. So did Martin. And I got you on YouTube as well, Omar. Again, pleasure, man. It was great meeting you, and I hope we can all get together soon. So.
Yes, sir.
Promote the show, Master the Shots. This is a really, really awesome format. I'm honored, and you guys, thanks for jumping on. Let's grow this show because I think it's one of the better ones that's out there.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I'm sure Eddie does too. So, all right, guys, let's call it a night. We really appreciate everybody that has jumped on here live, commented. We appreciate all of y'all that watch this after the fact. You know, if you're tuning in later and not seeing it live, we still appreciate that you're watching this stuff. Keep tuned. Every Thursday night, 8 p.m., we're going to have lots of awesome photographers and other people throughout the photography industry join us and just talk anything and everything photography related. So y'all all have a wonderful evening. Y'all want to say anything falling out, guys?
Nope. Thank you for everybody that joined on. I hope you guys all have a great night. It was a pleasure. So,
awesome. You guys, thanks a lot. Thanks for the support. And those guys who are in my Daniel and Shawana and all those guys who are in my mentorship group, I really appreciate you guys. And let's continue our passion.
All right. Asta.
Peace.